So for years, I always had this feeling that I couldn't shake off. I couldn't fight this feeling. I woke up with it, I slept with it. And it was the feeling of every time I watched YouTube, I felt like I should be doing this. If you're watching this video, you probably have felt that before. And the thing is, most people, basically everybody actually has felt this feeling of what they're supposed to be doing. And unfortunately, most people never get to start. The basis of this video is, or the reason of me making this video is to try to convince you to start on YouTube. And then I'll give you the reasons why, and I'll tell my story below. Okay, so before we get into how I started my YouTube journey, I need to give you guys a backstory of how everything happened, because some of you will find yourselves in the same situation that I was in, and probably this will help you navigate through that space. Back in 2018-17, I was in varsity at University of Botswana. And these are the fondest memories I have of just thinking about YouTube. I'd daydream and think and see myself in my mind's eye interviewing, very prominent business people. And this just kept happening over and over and over again until I could no longer, until it was just a burning obsession, something that I just wanted to do. And so when I graduated 2020, as you know, in UB, you're given an allowance. So unfortunately, I didn't save any money. So when I graduated, I was dead broke, had nothing. And so what I did was, I took our car at home. I took one of our cars and I would pirate. I don't know if you guys know what pirating is. I'd take people from Ramotswa, I'd bring them to Gabs in the car. And by then, it was 10 pula from Ramotswa to Gaborone. So I'd take people in the car, that was like about $40, then I'll take them back to Ramotswa, then I'd go to Lobat and come back to Gabs. So that was my routine for about 3 months. The day I graduated, like the day I finished at varsity, actually another backstory is, or a side note is that I always knew I was not meant to do a job. I just didn't want that traditional path, and deep down I always knew that I wanted like YouTube to be my dream job. And so that was my way of raising funds. What was I doing that? When I finished varsity, I got a job with a guy. It's funny that I said I wasn't the job guy, but stick with me. So I got a job with a friend of mine who was at varsity by then, and he was a web developer. And so I told him, listen, man, let me sell websites for you. Whatever price it is you charge, I'll add my markup. And so my markup was 1,000. Every time I would sell a website, I'd get 1,000 from him, And so I did that for like 3 months. So every single day, I was waking up with that plan to pirate. I'd drop my dad off because I didn't want him to go to work with the car, because I couldn't pirate then if he went to work with the car. So I'd drop him off at work, take the car, and they didn't know by then they didn't know. And so I'd pirate, and then I'd get here, right here, and I'd do cold calls. So I'd call people, I'd take the directory out, and I'll start calling one by one. And by then I was in charge of the social media platforms, where he was doing a lot of graphics and web development, and then I was creating social media pages for people. And I remember I would arrive around 11 because I'd pirate the entire morning. So I'd be here by 11 a.m. and I would call like 50. I'd make 50 calls. 50 to 100 calls per day. I'll just be calling, hey, my name is Mpho, we do 1, 2, 3, click, and then in the afternoons would have meetings. So that money I was pirating with was my money for transport, was my money for airtime, and was my money for lunch. So if I didn't pirate, I was not going to make that money. So imagine a whole graduate was doing all of that, because I knew nobody was going to hand me anything, and I had to go and work for what I wanted. And so I did that, and we continued for a couple of months, and it was very, very hard. I remember that we would work so much, I would leave Gaborone, because I stay in Boat. I would leave Gaborone around 9 p.m., 8 p.m., sometimes 10, sometimes even midnight. We're just doing this whole thing. And for 3 months straight, it was just a grind. Didn't get paid. We got probably one client. We got one client after a month, and then we got the other client after 3 months. So it was a difficult process. And as I'm telling you the story, it has nothing to do with YouTube as you are listening to me, but it has everything to do with what I'm doing right now. And so that then the following year, which was now, this was 2021 when I was doing the 2020 when I was doing the pirating thing. This was from September to December. And then 2021 came around and I decided, listen, man, I'm going to start YouTube no matter what. And so I remember talking to one of my guys that as a videographer. I was like, man, listen, this is the vision I have. This is what I want us to do. And can you be able to shoot me? I don't have money. And so he bought into the vision. I'm glad he did. And he decided to give his services up so that I could come and shoot Deep Dive Sessions podcast. And I remember on February 16th, 2021, our first episode of Deep Dive Sessions was shot. But that wasn't an episode where we had a videographer. That was just a live video. We had Kagiso Morokotso and we were shooting somewhere here. Obviously, you can't see that, but it was a live video. And then from there, we started shooting videos that were pre-recorded and then we would edit them. But by then, we had not yet started on YouTube. We shot about 11 episodes that year, and then 2022 we shot about 5 episodes, and all of those episodes were shot and they're recorded today on my Facebook page. You can check them out. Those are the first videos of Deep Dive Sessions. And then 2022 came around and I assembled a new team. And now this time around, because of that whole pirating thing and being able to start a business in 2021, I was able to now have a team that I'm working with now. And on March 30th, we had our first episode go on YouTube. If we're looking back, the biggest barriers I had was money and getting equipment, editing, photography. None of these I had or knew how to do, and so it was just me talking to people and asking them, listen, this is what I want to do. Can you help me out? And people are more willing to help than you would know. If you just don't ask. And so we started on YouTube March 30th, and then everything took out from there. And so that's really the short story of how Deep Dive Sessions began. And I remember even then, my creative director right now, Tabs, I remember telling them, hey, guys, I don't want to get on YouTube because I'm afraid of having 11 views and people not seeing the videos. And they pushed me actually to get on YouTube. So even the YouTube decision wasn't my decision. It was a decision of the team, to which I'm still grateful for to this day. And we started shooting. And yeah, it is where it is today. And we're still looking to grow and keep going. So that's just a short story and a synopsis. And here are the 3 biggest lessons that I learned from starting YouTube and how it has actually changed my life. So one of the biggest lessons I learned starting on YouTube or just having a YouTube channel is you learn a lot about yourself. So when you watch yourself, you start to pick up some mannerisms, start to pick up some subtle things that you do that you didn't even know you were doing. Things like word fillers, blah, blah, blah. These are the things that I like to say, and I didn't even know that I was saying them so often, and something that I'm actually working on. And you start to pick up even just subtle mannerisms that you might find that I learned that from my dad, or my mom does that, or a friend of mine does that. And you learn a lot about who you are and characteristics about yourself. And it's very, very interesting. This is something that you just can't learn by posting a video or a reel or just a short clip on TikTok. It's something that you're going to learn about yourself the more you're engaged in making videos and long form content. And then number 2, nothing is the end. So I remember one of the videos I shot, I think this was episode 3 of Deep Dive Sessions. I literally did the intro 8 times. And this is not because I didn't practice. I had practiced. It's just that talking to a camera like I am right now is a very difficult process. It's very unfamiliar to you as a person. And so I learned that in the beginning, when I thought about just shooting videos, I'd think, man, if I mess up the intro, I'm done. It's the end. If I do this, it's the end. That's what I would think. And I'm sure a lot of you might be thinking like that. When I actually did that and shot the intro 8 times, I looked around and people didn't even have the reaction I thought they would have, maybe laugh or look at me in a weird way. And even if they did, it taught me that nothing is the end. You will still come back. You can still come back and learn from your mistakes. And something that YouTube will really teach you is to be able to stare at your own inadequacies and be okay with being who you are while you're improving to become who you want to be. I hope that makes sense. But this is some of the things that I learned from YouTube, and this translates into a lot of areas of my life in business. You learn that if you don't make the sale today, you can make it tomorrow. You learn that you can still come back from a lot of trials and tribulations and even adversity. And then the third lesson, and this one is very special to me, is the people you are looking for are also looking for you. So when you start YouTube, or just in the business world, we're told of the saying that says, your network is your net worth. And so we're always looking to surround ourselves and connect with like-minded individuals, like-minded people that have the same value system, that have the same principles like we have. And so the interesting thing about YouTube that I didn't even know when starting out is when you start to put out content, when you start to put out things that you are interested in, you start to attract your own tribe. So it's almost like whoever you are, you're putting out a reflection into the world, and people are looking at it and they're like, that's me. And so you start to attract these people into your life. And it's almost like you sit down with somebody, you meet them in the mall, you meet them in the bank, you meet them anywhere. And it's like you already know this person because they watch your content and they understand, and they're just like you, they're just like me. And it's a very interesting and amazing feeling that you get that I don't even think many people have really experienced. And so this then translates into a lot of things in terms of opportunity, in terms of where you can take collaborations with people and how you can connect and make and be useful to one another. And then the last point, which is just a bonus point, is we started YouTube 2022, March 30th. And then from that time period till now, I've had 3 radio interviews, 4 newspaper articles. Once I featured on the national TV, BTV. We hosted an event last year that brought about 101 attendees. We got monetized November 2023, and we got sponsored even from episode 1 by Stanbic Incubator, which we are very grateful for, who have given us a home where we can shoot these videos and have all these live shows. And so these are just some of the things that you will get as you keep moving. And going back to the story I talked about earlier on, where I used to do cold calling, people ask me a lot, how do you get the guests you have on the podcast? And for a very long time, I couldn't understand the reasons why people thought it was quote unquote difficult. And it hit me one day that the reason why I'm able to call all these successful entrepreneurs and people that I admire is because I used to do cold calling. I used to do 50 to 100 calls a day. And it's like what Steve Jobs says, that you cannot connect the dots moving forward, but you can only connect the dots looking backwards. So looking backwards, this is when I'm like, oh, that was the experience I was learning. In that 3 months when we barely didn't make any money, was that time where I was putting in the reps of learning how to do this. And now these days, I'm very comfortable on the phone and just talking to all these and, inviting them over to be able to come and tell their amazing stories on the podcast. And so a lot of these you won't learn before you actually just get started. And the biggest lesson to just YouTube in and of itself is you learn more about yourself and you're able to connect with the world in a way that you can never connect with it in. And once you're successful in one area, or once you start to see progress in one area, it starts to trickle down into other spaces of your life. And in no time, when you look back 3, 4, 5 years, your life has drastically changed. And so if this video has been helpful, if you found any value in this video, please give it a like. And my biggest recommendation for you is, if you think, or if you felt anything as I'm talking to you right now, if you felt like, this is me, please start your YouTube channel. Please start your YouTube journey. Now is the time. Do not delay. And we'll meet on the next video. Be great. Thank you guys for watching this episode. We really hope you enjoyed it and learned something new. Deep Dive is dedicated to bringing you the most comprehensive and engaging information about business, personal finance, and personal development. Make sure to hit that subscribe button to stay updated with all our latest content. If you like this video, give it a like to show your support and help us reach a wider audience. And don't forget to share this video with your friends and your family who may be interested. Sharing helps us grow our community and connect with like-minded individuals. Leave a comment below and give us your biggest takeaway on this episode. If you're interested in being a part of our live studio audiences, make sure to register for the next show. Can't make it to the show? No problem. Check out our Patreon page to watch the full episode and get exclusive access to more great content. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode of The Deep Dive.